Good evening, Syracuse fans, Cuse Nation, and welcome to the Upstate Orange Podcast, recorded live inside the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. It's Thursday, March 6, 2014, and tonight we're going to be talking about the 26-4 Syracuse Orange, who are in a late season tailspin after dropping their fourth game of the year at home on senior night to Georgia Tech. We'll talk about it all and what the Cuse needs to do to get back on track ahead of our inaugural ACC tournament. And, of course, we'll have some Syracuse basketball trivia at the bottom of the hour. I'm Jim Sinacropi along with Matt Verke. Verk, good evening.
What's going on, Jim?
And via telephone in Cincinnati, our resident college basketball guru, the professor, Brad Connor. Hi, Brad.
Good evening, fellas.
The Upstate Orange Podcast is brought to you by Generations Bank with locations in Auburn, Geneva, Phelps, Seneca Falls, Union Springs, and Waterloo. Be sure to check out their mobile banking app or visit them online at mygenbank.com. And Seneca Meadows, responsible waste management for the next generation. Learn more online at senecameadows.com. And by Midday, Miras and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys, if you've been injured and deserve compensation. Call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. That's 315-568-0911. So, Syracuse losers of 4 of their last 5 after winning 25 straight to start the season. Let's talk all about it with our Big 5 questions. Question number 1. What the heck is going on? Seriously, Brad?
This is a different team than we've seen the first 3 months of the year, isn't it? I mean, obviously they're not playing the same, but the personnel's not the same. I mean, they've got injuries. Jeremy Grant's out. I mean, Coleman's been out forever. I don't think Keita's 100%.
Yep.
And I mean, they can't play 2-on-5. That's what happened against Maryland or against
Georgia Tech.
Virginia. I blocked it out of my mind already.
Oh, Virginia.
They played 2-on-5 and they're okay for a half, but that was all they could handle. I mean, there's no movement. There's just stagnant offense. It just seems like there's a general fatigue for this team. They bust their tails to get to 25-0, and it just feels like they just don't have anything in the tank right now. I wish they could take like 2 weeks off before the tournament.
Verk, what the heck's going on?
You know, I agree with a lot of what Brad's saying, and the bottom line is they can't score. They're just I think I read something in the last 8 or 9 games they've only gotten over 60 twice, and one of them was the loss to Georgia Tech. They went over, I think they had 60-something, but can't win if you can't score. I mean, their defense is great, has been great. I didn't think it was great against Georgia Tech for the most part, but got to score some points.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Cuse fans, it's okay. Remember last year? We went into the swoon. We went to the Final Four. When I look at this team, first of all, we need Jeremy Grant healthy. We're not going to be able to make any type of run without every component. Ennis, Grant, and Fair. And honestly, Keita, Christmas, Cooney, Benajay, we need them all. But Grant's certainly a big missing cog. We got blown out at Virginia. Again, tough environment to play. Virginia caught fire, and I've seen Virginia play a lot this year, and that was by far the best game they played. And we ran out of gas. It was our 3rd straight road game. Georgia Tech and BC, I don't really have any answers for, though. It's just like they didn't have it in them. And when in both games, they put a charge on late, and if the game was 1 minute longer, they probably would have pulled it out.
Those are, 2 home games against sub-500 teams.
Senior night, too, no less.
That you have to win. They win those 2 games, they're a 1 seed. Now they're a possible 3 seed. just inexcusable, really, to lose those games. I mean, obviously we're more talented than Georgia Tech and Boston College. They had a 13-point lead in the second half against Boston College that we can't hold on to. Disappointing. They went through this last year, but I thought last year we were losing to better teams, right, in the Big East. The loss at Duke, that's at Cameron, it's understandable. Loss at Virginia is understandable, but those two losses, not to be able to score against Georgia Tech and Boston College.
Yeah, and when part of that is Cooney, but that actually leads me to question 2, which is how do we fix the offense? Because there's nothing going on there in the half court. You guys got any ideas?
It was sad. I mean, just watching it, you could watch them just pass it out. There were possessions where they would go 30 seconds without even going inside the 3-point arc. I mean, it's like they're not even trying. They're just waiting to get it down in desperation, and then either they're going to try and get it to CJ or Tyler Ennis is going to try and go one-on-one. They're not looking for anybody else. They were making no effort to dump it down to Christmas at all. And, I don't know if he would have done anything good with it even if he'd gotten it. Benajay is nice in spots, but I don't think he's a guy you count on anymore, or like he ever was, I guess. And Cooney, I mean, who knows what's happened with him? I mean, with the exception of the Notre Dame game, he's actually been almost non-existent in ACC play.
Yeah, I don't know if we have an answer. Since early on, we haven't scored the ball well. We don't have enough shooters. We have one shooter, and Ennis is capable. Fair can hit some shots, but Cooney's our 3-point shooter. I'd like to see him get the ball. Especially when Fair has a smaller guy on him, get him the ball closer on the block instead of 18 feet away, because he struggles when there's a 6'4" guy guarding him. He's 18 feet away from the basket. And get Christmas a couple more looks. He had 2 shot attempts the other night. I think he should touch it a little bit more. He posts up pretty hard, and then they call him out, and I see a series of high pick and rolls where that doesn't produce anything. So,
yeah, I mean, missing Grant hurts. You're not going to get as many second chances as you would if he was on the court, and he was a guy who might hit a pull up jumper once or twice a game to get something going. But certainly, I think that what Syracuse needs to do is get offense from their defense. They need to be more aggressive. They need to trap more. They need to press more. You saw it against Georgia Tech when they needed to. They changed the game. We let teams slow us down instead of forcing the tempo ourselves. And I understand that we're thin now, so it's tough to press for too long when you're that thin. But early on, when a team's slowing us down, slap the press on, open things up a little bit, let these guys just play in transition. And with that being said, it doesn't matter what we do if Cooney's not going to be hitting 3-point shots when he's open.
It's tough, and Syracuse sits in that zone, and teams can hold it. They can take long possessions. It's I'm never going to fault the zone. They play it so well, and it's such a unique thing. And I personally think there's a time in basketball for man-to-man. There's a time for zone. Obviously, Syracuse is one with a different philosophy. But, when teams want to hold the ball out there, there's no pressure on them to, in that zone. So, yeah, I do like the idea of changing it up. What they've been doing over the last 6-7 games doesn't work, so I think they need to do something. I like when they're even half-court trap, come out, which they've done over the years. Just do something different instead of just sit there and take it,
Yeah.
Burke, you raised the point. You beat me to that point, because that was exactly the point I was going to make. That it doesn't feel like they're making adjustments. They're not adjusting to what the other team's doing to them. They're not adjusting to what may or may not be working for them. And it's not only in game; it's between games. I mean, he's stuck with the tight rotation, and now it's biting him in the butt. He sticks in the zone, and granted, the zone is effective 9 times out of 10, but in that 10th time, teams have game plan for these guys. Teams know what's coming, and those coaches are making adjustments in game. And I don't see Syracuse doing that. I certainly don't see it on offense. Offense, they're not doing anything different other than what they've been doing. They just don't have the same athletes to be able to do it. And I think that's what Syracuse just kind of behind allows them to sit back and say, "Yep, this is what we do," and the guys got to do it better.
But if to that point, though,
I think he's stubborn in that way.
Roberson in the game.
But if Cooney is making shots and Jeremy Grant's healthy, there's probably no problem. But when Cooney's shooting ice cold and you don't have to focus tightly on him and you don't have to worry about Jeremy Grant, you can, focus on CJ and Ennis. They kind of wait for Ennis to drive and kind of collapse on him and slap at the ball. And then you got, CJ is always getting the ball on the perimeter, and they can devote two guys to him, and then nobody's too concerned about, Christmas or Keita scoring. If Cooney makes a few shots.
Make adjustments. That's exactly when you have to change things up.
So what would we do? Try to get CJ the ball, maybe at the foul line or in the paint? They're still going to be focusing on him. It's Cooney's got to make shots. Is my answer, and I think you can alleviate that and open things up by just doing some defensive pressure early on, whether it's a press or trapping in the zone earlier in the game, and just try to shake a team up. But right off the bat, they come out, they get to slow it down, and you can tell it's just going to be a grind all the way to the end. Every game.
I can't take it when they run Cooney off a screen, he gets it and swings it through and reverses it to Ennis, and then Fair comes off the screen and he catches it 20 feet from the basket, and then they reverse it back, and then Cooney comes off a screen. It's like, do something.
Yeah, Cooney's working his ass off though. He comes off those screens 100 miles an hour,
and he catches it, and there's, he's
right in his face.
He has missed some easy shots, but he's also half the time he's catching it, turning and firing a 24-footer. Those are hard shots, and Cooney's a good player, but he's not freaking Stephon Curry. He's good, but he's taking some hard shots, and he's shooting from deep. They're not getting him good looks, and when he does get a wide open look, he doesn't make it. He's made a couple tough ones over the last couple games, but he needs to catch it and go, I think, and make something happen.
Yeah, regardless, we're not going to win national championship unless Trevor Cooney hits some threes, right? I mean, no matter what happens, he's going to need to step up and get hot again. And shooters, early in the season, he was making big shots in tough games and shooting really well. And so, it's just a matter, I think, of him shooting himself out of this slump, I guess. But man, he better do it sooner, or we could be 3-0 here to end the season. But question 3. Who kidnapped Jeremy Grant and replaced him with an oversized Steve Urkel? That's actually not question 3, but it's related to Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's out. Tyler Roberson forced into action. Didn't look so hot, right? I mean, I'm really high on Tyler Roberson as a whole, but we kind of needed him the other night, and he did not play well. And can you blame him?
No, he looked hesitant, and you can see, he doesn't know what to do, and I don't think he's being told what to do. Do you want him to shoot or don't you? I mean, he'd shoot and miss, and Boeheim would take him out. It's like, how do you play under those circumstances? I mean, what are you supposed to do?
They should have a support group for guys like Roberson, and basically everybody could get together and sit around, and
kind of brings you back to some of the guys they've had over the years who, if they shoot and miss, they come out of the game, and it's just tough to play. It's just like Cooney last year. I thought, if he didn't make his first shot, he sat down and never played again.
And Christmas early in his career, Coleman, Christmas early on in his career, or actually even last year in his sophomore year, Christmas would start the game and play for 2.5 minutes, and then that might be it for long stretches. So.
Well, it's reflective of the tight bench. I mean, it's ridiculous that he's got guys on his bench that he absolutely positively will not play. I look back at the box scores going back through ACC play. Since the Virginia Tech game, there hasn't been one game where Syracuse played more guys than their opposition. So you're telling me that the 9th guy on the Miami bench, the 9th guy on the Georgia Tech bench, the 9th guy on the Clemson bench is better than the 9th guy on the Syracuse bench? Is that possible?
That's a good point. That's where we should have an advantage. Yeah, that's where we should have an advantage because we can recruit. We recruit higher from top to bottom, so that should be an advantage. But instead,
the coach thinks that their 9th guy is worthy to play in an ACC game, but Jim Boeheim, by God, doesn't.
And then you got, like I say, Patterson and Johnson could come out and play and give some guys a blow so they can press and be more.
I think a guy like Roberson probably starts for half the teams in the ACC. And if he I think if you give Roberson 25 minutes a game, say, hey, you can shoot and do whatever you want. I think he averages 10 points and 6 rebounds.
Seems that way, sure. Yeah, I mean,
they should have recruited Tyler Cavanaugh. Is that the guy for Wake Forest that played with Coleman?
Yeah,
he lit up Duke last night.
That's right. Hit a lot of threes. That's what we need. I think they tried to get Kavanaugh, actually.
They didn't work very hard at him. I know that.
So
that's what I see with these guys. They're so fatigued. CJ Fair plays 40 minutes a night every single night, and
Yeah.
I mean he scores 28 points. I mean he played fantastic, but you can't ask guys to do that night in and night out. And there's going to be fatigue. They're not going to come to play every possession.
You could see CJ was dragging at the end of that G-Tech game.
Yeah.
They all were, and that's obviously again why he couldn't have keep that press up. But man, you know, we could have had this.
Ron Patterson in for a couple of possessions on the press. Seriously, you can't do that.
That's I agree with you. 100%. It's
go in, create havoc, get a couple fouls, and leave. I mean, hell, every coach does that.
Yeah, and then feel good about yourself as a varsity basketball player for Syracuse. You know, you're actually part of the team.
Bring your scholarship.
When's the last time Patterson has seen the floor?
I don't remember him playing an ACC game. Maybe one of the
Virginia Tech game. Maybe he got in at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean,
not for more than like 2 or 3 minutes at most. Certainly not in any meaningful time.
Yeah,
he can't be that bad.
I
thought early on in the year, I thought he was going to take minutes from Cooney. When I see him, he's a shooter, athletic. Freaking now he doesn't. They don't even know who he is. He's like non-existent.
Yeah, he shaved his dreadlocks. You can't even recognize him anymore. All right, hey, let's go to question 4. What seed are we going to be in the NCAA tournament? What seed are we right now? I would argue we're still number 1 seed, but I'm probably the only one here that would agree with that.
That's why you're not on the committee.
I think that the 4th number 1 seed can go to any one of 5 teams right now. I think you got Syracuse, Villanova, Kansas,
Duke. No.
Duke. Yeah.
Virginia, if they run the favor.
Virginia. Yeah, I think that 4th number 1 seed can go to anybody. And I think Duke could, Brad, I was talking to Jim earlier. I saw Joe Lenardi, who usually nails things pretty good. He had Syracuse as a 3 even after Duke's loss last night.
Yeah, it's funny. That was what I had in my head, a 3. Because, I mean, let's be fair. I mean, they, the body of work is, it's got 4 losses. But the committee takes those last 10 games very, very seriously. In the last 10 games, Syracuse look like garbage. Let's be fair with that. And that resonates with the committee. I don't think that is worthy of a 2 seed at this point in the season.
Home losses to Georgia Tech and BC is going to stick out.
Oh, yeah. Virginia and Duke, understandable losses on the road.
Sure.
The BC, Georgia Tech, forget it. That's
at home. Really I could understand on the road. I could take it on the road almost, but not at home.
No, that differentiates them from a lot of those other teams that are competing for a 2 seed.
So what do we got to do to play ourselves back into the 1 seed? Win the ACC tournament, or just win
I think
3 of our next 4?
I think we got to win the ACC tournament.
If
it's not us, it's going to be Virginia or Duke. Probably.
Well, or Carolina.
But if Virginia beats Syracuse in the finals of the ACC tournament, Virginia gets it over Syracuse, no doubt.
Yeah, probably.
They would have won 20 out of 21 games, basically.
If it was Virginia, who won the ACC tournament, then yeah, I'd agree. But Kansas with 7 losses. Duke has 6 losses now. I think they have 6 losses now.
Yeah.
I think 7 after they lost to Wake.
7 now, yeah, with that Wake loss.
They have 5 league losses and 2 non-conference.
And then you got who's a Villanova team that we beat head-to-head handily, and so these other teams that we're in competition with, I just think if you take the resume as a whole, but I guess it's the last 10 games thing, whatever.
Villanova beat Kansas, yeah. I mean, you got to look at a lot of things. Bottom line is, if they got to play better. They got a chance, but they got to win games.
Starting Sunday at Florida State.
They lose Sunday. I mean, they're going to be a 3 if they lose Sunday, without a doubt.
This is all dreamland unless Jeremy Grant comes back, you guys.
Yeah, and he's got to. I mean, what's this little back issue? Carmelo had a bad back of the whole run to the national championship, if you remember that.
Back injuries linger. They don't. It's not like an ankle that you can wrap and play at 90%. Back injuries are tough.
Hopefully, no matter where. I don't think the seed's a big deal, just as long as they can stay in the East.
Yeah, and Lenardi's bracket had him 3 seed at Buffalo.
Right.
Whether
in the East.
Whether that leads through Madison Square Garden, we don't know. But it's a law of averages things, guys. They were, got off to a great start. They snuck some games out. You're not going to win them all. I agree the Boston College, Georgia Tech losses really suck, but, almost every team out there has losses like that. Maybe not statistically that bad, but I would argue that Boston College or Georgia Tech are better than Belmont, who beat North Carolina at North Carolina. Maybe not the RPI.
Because how surprised were you that they lost that game to Georgia Tech?
I was, actually, I wasn't like shocked or stunned, but I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I wouldn't think it would have happened on senior night. And I think
I was disappointed. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even surprised.
And so that's why I'm not surprised if we win a national championship this year too. I wouldn't be surprised. Grant comes back healthy. We make a run. We match up good against anybody throughout the tournament. The defense has to step up a notch. And some shots need to start going in, but we're going to be incredibly difficult out in the NCAA tournament. That's a weird thing about it. We lose to Boston College and Georgia Tech at home, but then we sandwiched in between those games. We battled to the end at Cameron, in a game that we could have won that came down to the last possession. And it's a really tough schedule for Syracuse, too. Gut check time in Maryland without Jeremy Grant, winning that game on the road, and then having to go at Virginia, the biggest games for Virginia basketball since 1984. Hey, I digress. Question 5. Are you ready for the ACC tournament? Or can you feel it? I'm not excited for the tournament itself and the venue and all that the way it would be for the Big East tournament. But there's a potential for us to match up again against Duke, to get revenge against Virginia, to play North Carolina again, who's playing a lot better now. Those potential basketball games on a neutral court are exciting to me, I think, are interesting. No,
Tournaments are fun. Tournaments are fun regardless. The Maui tournament was fun. This tournament will be fun as long as Syracuse comes to compete. It'll be fun. It won't be like the Big East. It'll never be like the Big East.
Yeah. It won't be like, primetime Saturday night. That's going to be weird, too, watching them Sunday afternoon if they make it to the final. I mean, that's one thing the ACC has to change if they're smart.
Looks like Syracuse have a game Friday night.
Yeah, they're guaranteed to play at night Friday, which is good.
They're going to be the 2 or the 3. Yeah, they're going to play at 7 or 9. And then they would come back Saturday and play at 1 or 3. And Sunday's at 1.
Yeah, we've clinched the double bye, so this ACC tournament actually is restructured now with all the new teams. It's more like the Big East tournament was, so there's a double bye at stake, and Syracuse got it. If we win against Florida State, we clinch the number 2 seed, second place in the ACC. If we lose and Duke beats North Carolina, we are the number 2 seed. If we lose to Florida State and North Carolina beats Duke, then we're 3 seed, and North Carolina would be 2 seed. So those are the scenarios. And I don't know who we'd play. Probably Georgia Tech or Boston College. Probably Georgia Tech.
Wake Forest, maybe. There's a.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking, we'll play a decent team by the quarterfinals after the double bye.
Yeah, it could be Clemson, could be Florida State again.
Could be Miami.
Sometimes that double bye hurts you because you don't get to play a scrub team.
Could be, yeah. And they've been playing and winning.
Yeah, you end up playing somebody who played the night before and won. And
could be NC State.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, we should win that game. We're going to need to win that game, or we're really going to be limping into the. Even if we beat Florida State, then lose the opening round of our conference tournament. Although those things get forgotten,
that could be Pittsburgh in the first round.
Yeah,
it could be a 3-6 or 3-6 game.
Well, March 16th coming up. ESPN 30 for 30, Requiem for the Big East. I'm excited about it. That's why I just felt I had to mention it before we went out to break.
Did you guys see today? I saw online the Daily Orange had a great oral history of the 6 overtime game.
I saw the article. I didn't read it though.
Oh, it'll take a few minutes to get through, but yeah, it'll take you back. That's a lot of fun to read, and yeah, good memories of a great game and tournament that we may never see again.
Well, step aside for 60 seconds. When we come back, got Connor's Corner Trivia, got our list of the week. We got some bold predictions for you, and that's all coming back up after we hear from our sponsors.
We hold on to the things that really matter. Welcome to Generations Bank.
Hi, I'm Jody Torrio. If you're like me, you've got stuff lying around the house that you want to recycle, but you're just not sure how, like broken toasters, vacuum cleaners, or microwaves. At Seneca Meadows, we have a drop-off for those. Bring in anything with a cord, and we'll make sure it's recycled properly through our partnership with 2TRG. It's that easy.
And welcome back to the Upstate Orange Podcast on Finger Lakes One TV and FingerLakes1.com. So, Brad, the inaugural ACC tournament's coming up, and I hear you got some ACC trivia for us.
Yeah, I do. I'm not excited about it, but I do have it. But first off, to have it be a bit more Syracuse related, you guys may have seen this bit of trivia this week. You may not have. The last time that Syracuse lost at home to 2 consecutive opponents with losing records, which they just did to Georgia Tech and Boston College. Did you guys happen to see this trivia question?
I didn't.
I did. It was like 1950 something, right?
January 1968. So it predates all of us.
Wow.
And in January 1968, the second consecutive loss to a team with losing record was to the Niagara Purple. I don't even know what
Purple
Niagara
Eagles
mascot is, but purple something. And Calvin Murphy was the point guard of that Niagara team. So that's going back a ways.
A little bit.
It doesn't really happen very often to Syracuse, and it just did. So, on that happy note, let's talk about the ACC tournament a bit. We haven't really followed it very much, so this is going to be an education for us, I think. When do you think the ACC tournament began?
1954.
You got that in front of you?
No.
That's exactly the year.
It was just a total guess. I mean, I figured it was in that plus or minus 10 years, but that was just a total guess.
That's a fantastic guess. 1954 is correct.
Nice.
So this is the 61st playing of the ACC tournament. In the 60 events previously played, how many of those 60 were played outside of the state of North Carolina?
3.
5.
Actually, 11.
Okay.
We'll give them a little bit more credit than they probably deserve. 4 times it was played in Maryland/DC. 6 times it was played in Atlanta, and once it was played in Tampa for some unknown reason. I don't know why they would play in Tampa.
Yeah, that was recently, right?
Big Miami crowds. That was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they played in Greensboro 24 times, in Raleigh 13, and in Charlotte 12 times. And let's hope we can add New York City to that list at some point soon.
Permanently.
The most, yeah, right. Who got the most victories in the ACC tournament in the history of the event?
North Carolina.
That's what I would say.
Burke, you said Carolina?
Yeah.
We both did.
Duke is actually in the lead with
Wow.
19 victories, and Carolina is second with 17. Who do you think's third?
Wake Forest.
I'll say Maryland.
Incorrect, both.
Georgia Tech.
Nope.
NC State.
NC State is correct.
Wow.
NC State's won 10. But the last time NC State won was 1987.
Wow.
It's been a while for the Wolfpack.
Jesus.
Wake, the last time, Wake's won 4. So Wake's in 4th. They last won in 96, Tim Duncan's senior year.
Greatest ACC tournament ever.
Sure.
Who was that? Randolph Childress?
Childress was 95.
Okay, that was
Wake
great.
went back-to-back in 95 and 96. But that was a crazy. Childress had 30-plus in
Right.
the semis and the finals, and it was overtime in 95, and they beat Carolina, and then they won in 96 again. So Wake won back-to-back. Both Tim Duncan was on both those teams. And then Georgia Tech won 3. Maryland's won 3. Georgia Tech hasn't won it since 1993. And Virginia's won it once. 1976 was the last time the Virginia Cavaliers won the NCAA or won the ACC tournament. They didn't even win it in the Sampson years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then Florida State won it once. Miami won it once. South Carolina won it once.
Oh, yeah, the good old Gamecocks used to be in the ACC.
Right.
They got fed up with the North Carolina Tobacco Road rulers.
Yeah, so now they get the crap beat out of them by Kentucky instead.
Right.
Good for them. Duke's won 10 of the last 15 ACC tournaments, so that's a pretty good run for them.
Well, it's in Greensboro half the time.
True or false? There's never been a 2-time ACC tournament MVP.
True.
Yeah, why not? True.
False.
You tricked us.
I did. JJ Redick was the most recent back-to-back ACC tournament MVP.
Our most beloved players.
2006. And then the other 3, it happened 3 other times, so they haven't 4 times total, but you got to go back to like the 70s and the 60s. Tommy Burleson, Larry Miller, Len Chappell.
Nice.
Good names from the history of the ACC. Just great names. One team has never made an appearance in the finals other than the newbies from the Big East. Which team is that?
So that newbies from the Big East count Miami, Virginia Tech, and BC?
No, I'm talking about Syracuse, Pitt, Notre Dame.
Okay, I'm going to say
With the exception of the teams that have never played in the ACC tournament, what school has never played in the finals of the ACC tournament?
Virginia Tech.
Yes, that's correct. The Hokies are answer to many pathetic ACC trivia questions. Who was the MVP of the ACC tournament last year?
Who even won it last year? I don't even remember it.
Oh.
It should have been Sunday afternoon, getting ready for the Selection Sunday, and there's this one stupid game still going on.
Miami won.
Miami won it.
They won the regular season and the ACC tournament, and it was the point guard there.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Larkin.
Shane Larkin's correct.
Good call.
Miami beat Carolina 87-77 in the finals of the 2013 ACC tournament. And that's all I want to offer up for the damn ACC tournament for you guys.
All right.
So, speaking of ACC tournament, this is the time of year where we shift from Thursday to Sundays. So our next show is going to be Sunday night at 9 o'clock, and we'll continue Sunday night at 9 o'clock through the end of the season. So this week we'll be back Sunday night at 9, talk about the Florida State game and preview the ACC tournament once we know our pairings and everything. And then we come back for the best show of the year, Selection Sunday Spectacular. Who knows who we'll have up here in the studio with us, but 9 o'clock we'll react to all the brackets. We'll look at Syracuse's road. We'll make our picks and give you some tips on filling out your bracket, because if certainly we all have had such great success in our bracket pools over the years. It's the biggest crapshoot ever. No matter how diehard of a college basketball fan you are, if you just pick by the numbers and just mix things up a little bit, you got just as good a chance as Jay Billis. Would you agree?
Yeah, heck yeah. You go straight favorites, you'll be in the top 10 of any pool you enter.
And then you got somebody, you got one of them that says, oh, you know what, I like George Mason. I'm going to put them in the Final Four, and they win all the money.
I'm going to tell you guys, my son, who's now 10 years old, 3 years ago, he was 6 or 7 when the tournament, he picked VCU in the Final Four because he didn't know what he was doing. and they made it.
Yeah.
He had no idea. He didn't know his head from his butt. He never watched the
That's what I'm talking about.
He said VCU looks like a good team. He's going to pick them, and they won the Final Four. He didn't want the pool if he'd have gotten in.
Oh, you didn't let him in because you're so young. He was just filling out one for fun.
He had no idea. He just wrote down names.
Well, Selection Sunday special, Upstate Hoops, 2 Sundays from now, 9 o'clock. Always a lot of fun on Selection Sunday. We also might be talking about a Syracuse game that just concluded a few hours earlier. So, a lot of things are different this year. Let's talk about the list of the week. CJ Fair, one of the greatest Orange ever. I want to hear how many forwards, and CJ Fair's legacy still to be written. Keep in mind he went to a Final Four last year. He could go to another Final Four this year, which is something that no other Syracuse player has done, period, right? He's also going to end up as one of the winningest players in Syracuse history, along with Brandon Trish, especially if they make a run this year. What Syracuse forwards would you place ahead of CJ Fair at this moment? All time. Just throw out some names.
Carmelo. John Walls.
Okay.
Derek Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman.
Say Billy Owens.
Billy Owens, guard. Yeah, forward, I guess, yeah.
Lawrence Moten qualify as a forward or a guard?
I'd say you got to keep him guard, right? Or no?
He was probably more of a swingman. He could play it either, but...
He seemed like more of a guard, whereas, I'm going to rule on this. Moten's out.
All right.
We're going to call him a guard for this.
Say Akeem Warwick.
Oh, yeah, I might have to dispute that one. That's the thing.
Akeem Warwick scored 2,000 points and blocked a shot to win the national championship.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe CJ will do something like that. How many career points does CJ have at the moment?
CJ has slightly over 1,600 points in his career so far.
So he'll never catch Warwick.
Yeah, he'll never get to Warwick.
Warwick played a lot more as a freshman. Man, I really like CJ Fair. Yeah. I'll go with you, though. I'll put Hakeem Warwick over him, but CJ could change.
Senior, though.
Hakeem Warwick is a guy, though, that CJ could jump over with some heroics this season in the tournament. Would you agree with that? If CJ leads him in the Final Four for the second straight year, would you then elevate him over Warwick?
I don't think so.
No. If they won a championship, yes. But if they just lose in the semis, no.
All right. Fair enough. I guess I can't not agree with that. How about
Preston Shumpert?
I'll take CJ. I like Preston. Nothing wrong with Preston Shumpert, but give me CJ. How about Todd Bergen?
No. CJ's got more points. CJ was a better all-around player, I think.
If I had to pick one player that I think CJ's most similar.
Addison.
Yeah, Raphael Addison, you could certainly make a case for. Back to Todd Bergen, though, he's the most like CJ, I think. I think they're very similar players, where Carmelo was a lot different than CJ.
Stevie Thompson?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I got to go with CJ, although gotta love Stevie Thompson.
Yeah, I feel like Stevie's more of a guard, even though because he was like 6'4".
Terrible free throw shooter.
He almost had 2,000 points. Preston Shumpert had 1,900 points. How about Raph Addison?
Yeah, what you're saying, Raph would be up there for sure.
Yeah, Raph had almost 1,900 points.
About Roosevelt Bowie? Is he a center?
Center, yeah.
Or center, I'd say, yeah.
Sean Cairns. I'll put CJ ahead of Sean Cairns and Wendell Alexis.
How about Rudy Hackett?
Oh, yeah, there we go. I think you got to go Rudy Hackett. Well,
he played in the Final Four.
Yeah, he did. And lost in the
played
semis.
3 years, too, because freshmen weren't eligible his freshman year.
Yeah, it just seems like we're giving CJ the short end of the stick. It sounds to me like we don't think he's on par with any of these Orange greats we're mentioning.
There's a lot of people who got a lot more points than him at Syracuse. Ryan Blackwell.
If his career ended right now, CJ would be the 16th leading scorer in the history of Syracuse basketball.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, I think
Dave Johnson is slightly above him. Dave Johnson, guard or forward?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Or Shreveport, he's from Louisiana. High top fade. He is a forward. Wasn't he small forward?
He's like 6'5". He probably played some 2, some 3.
How about Leo Routins?
Yeah, transferred from Minnesota, though. Probably he only played 2 years for us, but yeah. He's up there, but I would think I'd put, if I was making a list, I'd put CJ ahead of Leo.
How about Terrence Roberts?
Yeah, I'll put CJ ahead of Terrence. I think we're running out of...
He had one great year.
What about Paul Harris?
I was a big Paul Harris fan.
I loved Paul Harris.
Yeah.
I think the
He's a better rebounder.
Boeheim ruined Paul Harris.
Yeah.
I would go CJ ahead of Paul Harris, though. But
yeah, I'd agree with that. That was the one thing that's reading this oral history of the 6 overtime game. You forget how many layups Paul Harris missed.
I know, end of every period.
I got frustrated again just reading it.
But
Paul Harris make more layups.
If he made any of those, it wouldn't have gone to 6, and we wouldn't even be talking about it.
I know it.
Rick Jackson.
Yeah, power forward Rick Jackson. That's a good...
we remember Rick Jackson fondly because of his senior year and how great he was, but the first 2 or 3 years he was
terrible.
He hadn't really blossomed yet.
He never ever could go to his right, even then as a senior, which is something that boggles my mind when you got a big guy like that can't go to both sides.
You know, I was looking at these leading scorers. Devendorf never came back for his senior year, right?
Right, yeah. He declared. He
scored a lot. He had 1,680 points. He could have been up there well over 2,000.
How many does Moen have is the top score?
23-34.
Yeah, I mean, with a big season, he could have maybe. I don't know.
If he would have scored, if he averaged, if he had another 600 points, he could have been right there.
He didn't have to leave either. I mean, It seemed like Boeheim did a little house cleaning.
That's when him and Harris and
Johnny Flynn
all left.
And Wes Johnson? No, Wes went one
Wes
year
was
before.
Later.
1 year later?
1 year. Yeah.
And he's the one that obviously having the most success.
Right.
All right, well, we'll maybe have to do this again at the end of the season and see where CJ fares. A lot will depend on what happens at the
he dribbles off his foot one more time, though, I'm dropping him below freaking everybody.
Derek Brower. Okay, dropping him below Bobby Laser.
I am.
Well, power rankings. Give them to me. Top 5 teams in the country right now.
I'll go. I got number 5, Virginia. Number 4, Wisconsin. Number 3, Wichita. Number 2, Arizona. Number 1, Florida.
Brad?
I'll go ahead. Number 5, Virginia. Number 4, I have Villanova. 3, Wichita. 2, Arizona. 1, Florida.
I got 5, Louisville. 4, Syracuse. 3, Arizona. 2, Florida. 1, Wichita State.
You watched that Georgia Tech game, right?
I did. I'm taking the body of work and understanding that we did not have our team at full strength. And I'm hoping.
You still don't.
That's hard to say. We just really don't know, right? We really don't know what's going to happen.
They don't ever really tell us anything until it's time to absolutely say something.
So we don't know if at Florida State we're going to have Jeremy Grant or Steve Urkel. You know what I'm talking about? Did you see what that gear he had on?
Suspenders and the glasses, yeah.
Yeah. Looked like a real dandy. And shouldn't he, if his back hurts, shouldn't he be like laying down somewhere in traction?
I don't get it. I mean, I don't know.
He's standing up during the timeouts and stuff.
You're playing for a freaking number 1 seed. You fucking get out there and play.
He should be.
I guess you're resting for the tournament, but Jesus Christ.
He should be hanging upside down by his feet on some sort of device. Get his back better.
Get electrostimulus through his shirt.
That's right.
But I like Louisville. I just think that obviously Russ Smith, they got some real men down low too.
Harrell is a monster.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
They've been playing great, but then they choked that game away against Memphis on Saturday.
True, which is probably why I shouldn't even have him up there. But I'm going by the eye test at this point, I guess, except for with Wichita State, I'm going with their undefeated record. So,
I like Wichita.
It's amazing that Florida only has 2 losses at this point too of the season. They've had some close calls.
They run the table in the SEC. Not that that's any big deal, but with Kentucky there.
Yep.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Game with them in Kentucky on Saturday.
Calipari's kind of in a little bit of jeopardy there in Kentucky. They're saying, they're saying he might want to move on, or it's not working, or
not working. They just won. They've been in the Final Four like 2 of the last 3 years, haven't they?
No, they said that.
Last year they lost in the NIT.
They said that he didn't ever do it with his own players.
Oh.
So the guys he's been bringing in, it's just not working. They're not buying in.
I mean, it's really starting to feel like they caught lightning in a bottle with that Anthony Davis and Kid Gilchrist and those guys.
But they were in the Final Four the year before that as well, weren't they? With
with John Wall and Cousins.
Yeah, and that's when
long time ago, if you ask any Kentucky fans.
What about when the guy from Kansas hit the 3? That was against Calipari, right? In the final.
Memphis.
That was Memphis. Oh, that was when he was at Memphis, right? Okay.
Yeah, they had Derrick Rose on. Yeah, Derrick Rose was on that team.
Right. And
they blew that game.
Chalmers hit the 3, on that dribble handoff, and it went to overtime. They lost.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Bold predictions. Last week, I predicted Syracuse would open up, extend, and maintain a lead over Virginia and win by double digits.
You predicted Virginia was going to do that?
Yeah. If I did, we'd be correct, because that's the opposite of what I predicted happened. Verk, you predicted that Michael Benajay would lead Syracuse in scoring against Virginia.
He had a basket.
And Brad, your bold prediction was that UVA wouldn't score more than 40 points in the second half. Yeah. 40 points total. So we all were a little bit wrong there, but at that point too, we didn't. When Jeremy Grant didn't come out for the second half, when it was clear that he was just not, and you looked at the guys out in the court and you realized that they were going to play the whole second half and nobody else was going to play. I didn't feel too confident about it at that point. So, and that's how it was.
Yeah.
So this week's bold predictions, give them to me, guys. You got anything? Got anything bold?
My bold prediction is Syracuse doesn't win a game the rest of the year.
Oh, man.
Damn it, now you stole mine.
Did I?
All right, well, you guys can share a bold prediction. My bold prediction is Syracuse doesn't lose another game the rest of this year.
There you go.
So we'll have to wait a few weeks, see if that one comes through. Okay. I almost amended it to say, except for Florida State. I could see us losing to Florida State and then getting it together. But I'm going to say we're going to beat Florida State. I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call.
Your bold prediction should have been we're going to be a number 1 seed.
No, I'm shooting for the stars. We're going all the way.
Right.
Won't lose another game the rest of this year. I think that they realized that what was happening just too late in that Georgia Tech game. It seems like when Boeheim unleashed them, that they really came back from what should have been an insurmountable
I thought at the end of the
lead.
game when they cut it to 4 with like a minute 30 to go, pull back, and they kept the press on, and Georgia Tech scored a layup.
Oh, wide open.
They could have just played their regular defense, and
they were gassed.
Yeah,
they were gassed. All right, fellas, coming up at 10:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on a Thursday night. 2 for the road. First one, I want you guys to give me one rule change that you'd suggest for college basketball. There's a lot of rule changes rolling around there. In the NFL, they're talking about kicking 40-yard extra points. So if you could change one rule in college basketball, what would it be?
24-second shot clock.
Just like the NBA.
Yep.
Boeheim emailed me his answer too, and that's what it was too. Brad?
See, that worked. Just stole my answer again. That's exactly what I was going to say. Shot clock, because that would eliminate these ridiculously boring games that we have. I would say that I would address the block charge situation. It's become such an albatross over this game.
Do you think we can do it by extending the area under the basket where you can't stand like the NBA, where you can't draw a charge?
Well, like I would just say you can't even take. I would extend that circle.
Right.
I would practically double it, and I would just say if you're trying to take a charge in that circle, forget it.
Yep. I agree with that.
The restricted circle is so tight underneath the basket. I mean, it basically just eliminates somebody from just standing under the basket.
Yeah, that's true.
How often have you ever seen a charge not get called because someone's standing in a restricted circle? Almost never.
I don't think I've seen it once this year.
I would extend that, and it would make for a more flowing game because then you wouldn't see as many people just standing there waiting. I mean, you'd actually see teams play defense, and you'd actually see teams attack the basket because the guys are afraid to attack the basket because they know somebody's going to flop.
True. Yeah, I agree with that. I would add a sixth player to each team. No, I would. I don't want to go all the way to 24 with the shot clock. I just want to go to 32. Let's just knock a little bit off.
30.
Yeah, 30.
Take 3
30
seconds off.
What's the international rule? Isn't the international 30?
30's good. 30's good. 24 is is a little too short.
So girls basketball is 30.
Yeah, that's true. I like it. Go to 30. Extend the block charge circle or the no charging circle. And what about a 4-point shot?
I'd love it.
No, because too many guys will just stand out there and want to jack those up.
I don't like it either. It's just too.
No, I really don't like it either.
Too much. 4 points. That's kind of NBA got crazy. And then there were people saying, "Well, you didn't used to have people used to think the 3-point shot was crazy."
No.
I feel like you're watching the Rock and Jock basketball championship, shooting 10-point shots at the higher basket and all that nonsense.
What about 6 fouls per player, like the Big East experimented with?
Oh, that was the worst.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, fouling is part of the game, It's part of the strategy. And when it was 6, it's almost impossible to foul out of a game.
And it just became too physical. I mean, and then you lose some of the free-flowingness stuff.
That was like the Alonzo Mourning era, right?
Because you didn't have to worry about falling out.
I think they did it for only 1 year, 2 years, where the Big East played with 6 fouls.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 years, but yeah.
I think the thinking is you get some of your better big men, they're more popular players to be able to, play a little looser. But
yeah, that was it. They were worried about the best players falling out in close games, and then you're stuck with, Tyler Roberson.
All right. And that was 1 for the road. How about 2 for the road? Give me your FSU prediction right now. We hardly talked about that game at all tonight. Let's talk about it now.
I'll go ahead since Berg's stolen all my other predictions.
Okay.
I think Jeremy Grant's not going to play, and I think Florida State's going to beat Syracuse 59-52.
Oh.
I'm going to go FSU 64, Syracuse 59.
Oh, man. Whether or not Jeremy Grant plays, we're going to find a way to win this game. 66-52. 14-point win on the road.
Anderson Fair combined for 62.
No, Cooney shoots his way out of it. You know what this team maybe needs is a little good Southern
DJ Johnson.
They need to get down. They need to get down there where it's warm, thaw out a little bit, get in a totally different climate, and just get back to what they do best, and that's really playing good basketball with each other.
I say we put in BJ Johnson. He's a scoring machine.
Well, we need some points. Just imagine if, like, the 5-minute mark of that game, Boeheim turned to Johnson and goes, BJ, get in there.
Hey, he doesn't play scared, though. He shoots every time he touches the ball. I love him.
And all those shots he's got up there.
I haven't seen him play since December, but
he didn't shoot for a very good percentage.
No, he's terrible.
A lot of times he missed the entire basket and apparatus, rim and all.
Isn't unlike Trevor Cooney from time to time.
He did post a picture of himself reverse dunking before the Georgia Tech game, though, on Twitter. And it said, he titled it, Yikes. And he was hanging on the rim reverse style. I guess it was a nice dunk.
Yeah.
Tyler Roberson going to see some minutes? Boeheim ripped him in the post game.
That was almost going to be my bold prediction that Tyler Roberson doesn't even see the court, but if he doesn't, then who's going to play?
If Grant's out, yeah.
They went with
and Keita, you don't even have to guard him because they just do not pass to him. I mean, there was a couple times where he would run a pick and roll with Ennis, and he'd be rolling, he'd be wide open, and Ennis wouldn't even look in his way.
He can't catch the ball.
Back the other direction.
Yeah, never really got those hands working.
He extends his hands. He thinks he's going to get the pass, and everybody in the arena knows he's not getting it.
Couldn't catch a cold.
Real quick before we get out of here, name me some centers that you'd rank. Where's Keita rank in the centers for his career? Ahead of Billy Seelick, right? We can agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
He's right up there with Craig Forth somewhere in there.
Well, no, I think Forth would have to be better, right?
He's got a national championship ring.
Yeah. I think they're similar players. I think Keita could pretty much do what Forth did on that team.
Yeah. What about
Keita's he's a great defensive player.
He was before this injury.
He's
hampered.
Not as aggressive offensively, but defensively he's a lot like Conrad McRae.
But
not as much of a shot blocker, but certainly is intense on defense.
But you're putting Conrad McRae over Keita on the list of all-time centers.
I definitely am as far as a well-rounded player. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know where. What about Darryl Watkins? I'd take Keita over Watkins any day.
I don't think so.
I don't think Keita's going to see the NBA court.
Maybe not, but I think I'll take Keita over Watkins any day. That was a horrible era. Yeah, that was a horrible era for Syracuse basketball. The 4 years following the national championship couldn't have gone worse.
Pretty sad.
And McNamara was on those teams.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God he was. That was the only thing that gave us anything to root for. But
that's not true. Once Warwick was gone, then they bottomed out.
Yeah, but we lost to Vermont, right?
Yeah, they're in the Sweet 16. They're in the Sweet 16. Lost to Alabama at Warwick's senior year.
Yeah.
After he was gone, then McNamara, 10 effing games. That comment, that was what the.
Yeah, McNamara, McCroskey, Roberts, Watkins.
NIT twice, yeah.
And then the Johnny Flynn. Johnny Flynn never played in the NCAA tournament. Did you know that?
Yeah, no, he did. They lost to Oklahoma, didn't they?
I think Johnny Flynn back-to-back NITs, right?
No, it was...
because 6 overtimes basically got them into the tournament.
Yeah, his freshman year, they lost. They were NIT, and his sophomore year, they were... They lost to Blake Griffin... they lost to...
number 1 seed in the 8-9 game?
Was it Oklahoma or...
yeah, Oklahoma, Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I thought that's... Yeah,
was that like an 8-9 game or something like that, or a 5-12? Or were
that was a Sweet 16 game.
Yeah.
That was a 4-5 or a 3-2-3. Yep.
And that was Johnny Flynn?
Yep, I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Well.
2008, 2009. Sweet 16.
What was the starting lineup?
Flynn, Devendorf, Harris, Jackson, Onuaku.
Huh. So Rick Jackson's senior year? No.
Or Routens. Maybe Routens instead of Jackson.
It's a good team.
Well, all right, guys. Coming up on 11 o'clock. So remember, you're used to tuning in on Thursday night to watch us live and Friday morning to watch us on tape fresh off the presses, downloaded to your iTunes account or whatever. Those days are over for the rest of the year. Sunday nights, 9 o'clock from here on out. So we're going to see you just a few hours after that Florida State game on Sunday afternoon ends. So thanks for joining us on the Upstate Orange Podcast. Subscribe to our feed on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or via RSS. We're online at podcast.fingerlakes1.com/upstatehoops. We'll be back again live on Sunday night at 9 o'clock. For my co-hosts, Matt Verkey, Brad Connor, our producer Jeremy Hunt, I'm Jim Sinacropi. Let's go Orange.